Welcome everybody to our Cupid video series. I'm Practice Director Andy Oberle here with a couple of our Cupid expert extraordinaires, Blake and Carl. You guys want to give a little brief introduction about yourselves?
Sure. I'm Carl Swift. I'm a senior consultant and on-site lead with Nordic Consulting. I have been involved in Cupid consulting for about 6 years now. Previously consulting under the Radiant application, previous name to Cupid, but excited to be here today.
Excellent.
Absolutely. I'm Blake Dilworth. I've been a senior consultant with Nordic for about 6 months. Previously, I worked at Epic, specializing in Radiant and Cupid implementation.
Excellent. Nice to meet you guys. So let's start off with the very basic. Let's just pretend, we don't know anything about Cupid. What would you say? What is Cupid?
Sure. Cupid is Epic's cardiology information system, specializing in procedural documentation for the cardiology areas. Can be non-invasive or invasive, and it specializes as well as in integration between third-party systems.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think one of the big things is one of the procedural areas. So it doesn't cover your sort of your cardiology recovery floors, doesn't cover your cardiac surgery areas. I think really important is that it's a procedural area. So where you perform your cardiology procedures, the echocardiograms, the EP and cardiac cath procedures are all covered by Cupid.
Excellent. So when we're talking, brethren of Epic applications, Cupid and Radiant are often lumped together. So is Cupid just Radiant in cardiology areas? We kind of talked about just now what is Cupid. Some people think that or make that mistake potentially. Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, sure. I think one thing that is a big misconception in the market is that Cupid is just Radiant for cardiology areas, as you pointed out, Andy. Really, where Cupid came from is was a splice between Radiant and Optime. So using the functionality between the two applications and splice to fit into the cardiology areas. One of the challenges we've seen with cardiology is there's distinct workflows between the non-invasive and invasive worlds. So Cupid really is a distinct beast in and of itself, and which has been the challenge for clients to perceive what exactly is Cupid.
Well, a lot of clients might see that in the non-invasive areas, Cupid is very similar to Radiant,
sure.
And in the invasive areas, it's much more similar to Optime. It is not just Radiant in the invasive areas from a data perspective either. You utilize the case structure as well as a lot of functionality that flows along with that. It really separates it from Radiant in the invasive areas.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that background on Cupid. It gives us a good base to go off of. Over the last, let's say, 4 to 5 years, how has Cupid really evolved as an application outside of the name change going from Radiant to Cupid, almost known as Thumper at one time, but what else how else has it evolved?
Blake, want to take this?
Yeah, so I think over the past 5 years, we see the advent of the EP procedure log, a lot of structured reporting development. On the non-invasive side, amazing things like the measurement-driven findings, as well as just the ability to integrate more readily with third-party systems like hemodynamics that allow the bringing in of data which Epic traditionally does not store or capture within itself to actually be brought in and seamlessly integrate with the procedure log.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, one of the big things that has been, I think 5 years ago, I would say, most implementations of Cupid or Radiant back then would have been something that we brand Cupid Lite. So really not the big pieces of Cupid that exist today, the pieces that you mentioned, the procedure log, the structured reporting components. I think, the past year or two, there's been a significant development, and customers have realized really the value that they can pull out of Cupid in these two areas specifically, and also to the integration point. There's been significantly more in integration with a variety of third parties, whether it be PACS, hemodynamic, or resulting applications.
Okay, excellent. And we really, when I think of Cupid, and we've touched on it a little bit, it's kind of a mix of that Radiant Optime applications, invasive versus non-invasive. What are those keys within the application? Are certain scope definition geared towards those based off workflows of clients?
Yeah, I would say something that is very challenging is what do you do for the cardiology areas that you have at your facilities, your organization, the company that you're in. I think one of the challenges is that there's a multitude of options. So you can go with inpatient in cardiology areas. You can really do radiant in cardiology areas. Really, when you have to look at the internal processes and determine Cupid is a good fit for each and every institution, because really the workflows are quite disparate from site to site, and I'm sure Blake can attest to that as well with his previous implementation experience. But that's sort of what I've seen as well. So I think it really depends on each site exactly what functions within the Cupid module or even within the Epic Enterprise applications themselves do you pursue depending on each workflow.
Absolutely, and Cupid being a maturing application is really, it's key to do exactly what Carl just mentioned, which is decide whether or not it's even a good fit for your organization, because Epic stands to, your organization stands to realize a lot of benefits from going with Epic, but if implemented incorrectly or prematurely, end user happiness could suffer. But if it's a good fit, Cupid is a great application.
Excellent. Thanks, guys.